So KastKing reached out to me and they sent me this rod and this reel to review. Which means the first thing you're probably thinking is, okay, so he's just gonna tell me it's great. And I get that. So here's what we're actually gonna do. I'm going to fish this like I paid for it, tell you exactly what I found. And at the end, I'm going to be straight up with you and tell you who should buy this and who should probably spend their money somewhere else. Real quick, what this actually is, the KastKing Royale Legend Pro bait casting reel. It's about $100. First thing out of the box, this reel looks really nice. It has a carbon fiber frame. It has anodized accents on the spool, tension knob, and handle. The finish, they call it cosmic. It looks almost like what you'd see on a bass boat, kind of that metal flake iridescent that changes color from kind of a blue to a purple to a black. It doesn't feel like a $100 reel. It does feel like a more expensive, more premium reel. Paired with a Royale Legend Pro casting rod. This one is 7.6 medium heavy fast action, about $95. It has that same cosmic finish as the reel. The rod is IM7 graphite. The Fuji Fazlight guides are legitimately a nice touch at this price point, along with this slip lock grip. So just under $200 for the combo. That's not cheap. That's in the mid-range sweet spot, where you're starting to expect real performance, not just something that looks good in the box. So we're gonna see if it delivers. Before I get into results, let me tell you what I was fishing in, because conditions matter. I spent about 10 hours over 3 days with this setup. Day one, I had about 30 minutes, maybe an hour before the front blew in. And then I was fishing in front conditions on day
There
one.
we go.
Days 2 and 3 were post front, high barometric pressure, north and northeast winds. That's a grind. That's genuinely tough fishing, bass fishing, or any type of fishing. I managed to catch 5 bass and a pretty good sized bluegill. I did get a few of these on film, so I'll try to show them throughout this. So keep that in mind when I talk about the results. Casting. First thing I wanted to know about this reel, does the braking system actually deliver on what they claim? And the short answer is yes, it does. I was throwing everything from about 1/4 ounce up to 3/4 of an ounce. And the casting was controlled, was consistent. I wasn't having to manage that spool tightly, not babysitting every cast, just fishing. I kept the magnetic brake set at 2 or 3 and the tension pretty open, and it handled this very well.
The brake on this thing has 20 settings. It goes 1 to 10 with half increments between that. I'm going to start it out at 5, and I have my tension set to where it barely drops. So that's how I'd start out any reel and see how it works. We're starting out with a jerkbait. The AutoMag definitely works well. I didn't even use my thumb. And so I'm going to lower that magnetic brake in just a minute here. I'm going to drop this down a couple. So I moved it down to 3. Same thing. Apparently that auto centrifugal brake is managing the spool incredibly well. I'm going to drop the tension a little bit here in a second as well and see what that does to us. All right, I lowered the tension a lot. So now it's just in a free fall. Let's see what this does. Still no backlash. For a beginner, this reel appears to be pretty much frustration free, which is really a nice touch. Not having to worry about backlashes. There was a little hit.
Now, in all fairness, I did backlash a couple of times, and I want to be straightforward about that. But both times, out of probably 300 casts over this time frame, I was being genuinely sloppy. So for a newer bait casting angler, this reel is going to take a lot of that frustration out of the learning curve. The AutoMag system really does prevent most backlashes. That's not marketing. It made me laugh a couple of times because I could throw the reel and not put my thumb on it at all, and it would just be backlash free. The line would just come off and it would stop, and no overrun at all. One thing I did try to throw some lighter baits around a 1/16 of an ounce, maybe even a little bit lighter. They cast, but they wouldn't load the rod properly. It wasn't effective. And that's exactly what you expect from a medium, heavy, fast rod. It's working as designed. 1/4 ounce and up is where this setup lives. So no shade at KastKing. It's functioning exactly like it should. Just wanted to throw that in there that I did try those lighter baits just to see. The distance was solid and consistent.
As far as throwing this jerkbait and distance, rod and reel is doing great. No complaints. Getting nice distance out of it. We'll test accuracy here in just a second. Let's see if I can put one straight out there with the sidearm cast. Dead straight. It is calm, so there's no wind. I'm going to throw this in the wind later today when that front gets here, and we'll see if that changes anything.
The accuracy was good as well. Accuracy, does have something to do with the rod, but it also has to do with the angler. But I was able to throw this and get it where I wanted to. When I do that, I do have to manage the spool with my thumb, right? Because you have to feather the spool and drop the bait where you want it to. But consistent is what you want to learn on. Backlashes, they don't just cost you fish. They kill your confidence and they're frustrating. So not having to deal with them or having to deal with them very little is pretty impressive. If I was a beginner, this reel was forgiving enough that I could probably fully focus on fishing even in tough wind and not have to manage the reel. Now, comfort, I was out there 10 or so hours over 3 days, no fatigue, rod weight, about 6.3 ounces, reel is 5.5. The balance is good. I never felt like the combo was fighting me. I never felt fatigue.
The palming is nice. It has these two pieces right here that allow direct contact with the blank. So you have good connection to feel, which is nice. And it does palm. Like I said, it palms very nicely.
The slip lock grip on the rod, it held up too, multiple fish, hands in the water, wet hands on the grip.
There we go.
Never felt like I was losing control of the rod, never felt slippery, so it is delivering on that, which is pretty cool as well. Those small things matter a lot over a long day. So fighting fish, I didn't hook into anything big. Probably the biggest fish I caught was around 2 pounds. But the combo worked really well here. The rod loads up clean, keeps the fish pinned. The drag was smooth. The clicker was interesting. I've never fished with a reel with a clicker other than a BFS reel, so it was a little strange to me, but I like it. And the 8.1 gear ratio, it earns its keep. I fish a lot of soft plastics where I need to pick up line quickly and jigs as well. And so I appreciate that faster gear ratio for that. Also, I had a fish run directly at me, able to keep up with him. No problem there.
There we go. Yeah. It's a little fish. Not bad.
Now, the honest unknown. One thing I'm not going to pretend to tell you is how this holds up over time. But I'd rather be honest with you up front and not tell you something that I honestly don't know. What I can say, though, is if you take care of your reels, they will last a long time. This is an original KastKing Royale Legend that's 7 years old. It is kind of rough looking, but it still functions fine. It's not as smooth as it once was. Obviously, it has lots of hours on it. And this is my very first bait caster in a Boo Garcia Ambassador 5000. It's 20 plus years old and it still functions. Also, not as smooth as it once was, but it still works. You take care of reels, they will last. So what's the verdict on this setup? Here's the straight answer. Who does this make sense for? If you're transitioning off a spinning setup, or you're new to bait casters and want to learn them without fighting your reel every cast, this is a forgiving, capable setup that won't punish every mistake. Or if you're in the market for a solid mid-level reel, you're going to be hard-pressed to find another reel with this many features at this price point. Carbon fiber frame, the dual braking system that automatically manages the centrifugal brake, a magnetic brake with 20 adjustment settings, your 8-to-1 gear ratio, your 11 bearings, your drag clicker, your tension knob clicker, all for under $100. Compare that to a Daiwa Fuego CT, somewhere probably in the 120 to 150 range, or a Shimano SLX DC, which is pushing 200. These are the lowest cost reels that I could find that have an automatic braking system similar to this reel. That feature gap between this and those is a lot smaller than the price gap. That's a legitimate value proposition. Now, who should look elsewhere? If finesse is your main thing, drop shots, Ned rigs, feeling every little subtle tick, throwing those ultralight baits 1/32 of an ounce, this rod and reel isn't built for that. But KastKing does have options in that space if you want to try out one from them. They make the Kestrel specifically for finesse fishing. I think they have a couple other models as well. I can link those in the description. And if you're already fishing higher end gear like the Corrado DC, the Metanium, the Tatula Elite, and you're curious about KastKing, this isn't the reel to judge them by. That's not comparing apples to apples. Look at their Mag TI Elite. That's where they're playing at a different level entirely. I'll link that one too. So if you decide to pick this up, please use the affiliate link in the description. It helps the channel and lets KastKing know I sent you. The rod and reel both are currently on sale, and you can use the code Mitch10 to get an additional 10% off this and anything else on their site. Drop a comment if you fish this rod or reel. I'm curious what you're seeing out there. And if you're still trying to figure out your first bait caster, watch this next. It'll save you a lot of trial and error.